Welcome, everyone. Rosalie here from the client team, live from Montreal. If you've just joined, please say hi in the chat. We're going to start shortly. We're going to wait a couple more seconds and get started. All right. So, hello, welcome to our June product update webinar, where you will learn what's new in client. Thanks for joining us today. If you want to stretch your finger a little bit, say hi in the chat, tell us where you're calling from. I think I've already mentioned that. By the way, Dominic, Melody, and myself, we're calling in from Montreal. I don't know for you, we're having the hottest day of the year. It's like 30 Celsius degrees right now. So that's like 86 Fahrenheit for our American folks. All right, perfect. Okay, let's get started. So who's who on today's webinar? First of all, please say hi to Dominic. He wears many hats at client, brand ambassador, consultant, sales engineer. You would have seen him in previous webinars as well, many videos featuring him. Dominic will be talking you through our newest features today. Then we have myself, Rosalie. I'm part of the client customer success team. This is my very first webinar at client, but certainly not my last. And I will be the master of ceremonies today. Really looking forward to it. And we also have Melody. She's our customer support advisor, and you would have worked with her in the past if you reach out to our support team. She'll be answering your questions in the Q&A and chat today. All right, let's go on our next slide. What do we have on the agenda for today? First, let's chat about how today's webinar is going to work. We want to make the webinar as valuable as possible. So as we go through different features, share your thoughts in the chat. If you like a feature we're talking about, send us some thumbs up, smiley face, emojis, confettis, whatever you want. If you've used one of the features we're talking about as well and you like it, tell us. We actually want to know. Now, if you have any specific question, and I'm sure you will, you can use the Q&A, so be sure to have access to that. Melody is going to be helping you there. And then last but not least, today we're doing something exciting, new for certain of you maybe. We're going to be using polls. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but we're going to start with our first poll. So we want to know, it's been a while since we've done our last webinar. Is this your first client webinar? So you should see a little pop-up on your screen. So yes, it's your first one. No, I'm a regular. I attend all of them. Or no, I've been to a couple. We're just curious to hear here. Just a couple more seconds. And perfect. So it looks like most people are regular. Welcome to those that are attending their first webinar. Hopefully after today, you just want to join all the upcoming ones. All right, second item on our agenda. So as I mentioned, last time we had a webinar was in December 2023, which is where we're going to left off. Since then, we had 6 major GA releases that included new functionalities, which is what we're going to focus on today. We'll be talking about features on like all parts of clients. So Workspace, Kanban, Resource Planner, Timesheet, Accounting, Survey, yeah, everything. As a reminder, if you want to have access to everything we mentioned today, you need to be on our latest version, which would be 49.6, and that's available since last Friday. So that's for that. Then very shortly, we're going to dive into all our new functionalities with Dominic. Then we're going to finish up with roadmap for next quarter, things that are coming up, little teaser. And at the very end, we'll just talk next step, resource, etc. So let's get started. Turning over the floor to you, Dominic.
Thank you, Rosalie. Thanks for doing this awesome sidekick on this webinar. So hello, everyone. Lots of similar names. I don't see faces, but I see the names in the list. So very happy to be here. By the way, it seems like the chat is disabled, Rosalie. So maybe if you can look into that, if there's something we can do now, or if it's hard-coded in the Zoom session. So while you fiddle around with that, so I'm gonna jump right into my environment here to look into the new features from that version. So starting on 2 features. First one here is the a new global action we have. We call it the client preload. So a few months ago, there was a client tip on tricks that we had to kind of hack the first load of the day, which is because of security and the cache that needs to be flushed and rebuilt. Some pages take a bit longer to load, especially the UIs we have. It's on the platform. We're working with Salesforce to improve that, obviously. But that client preload is an action that you can add in your global that will open a series of tabs into your Chrome or Edge instances or Safari, whatever browser you're using, so that it's going to load in the background. So start that in the morning. Go and grab your coffee. Once you're back, that's going to be preloaded. You'll save a few seconds here on a few UIs. So look with your admins to add this into your global actions. The other one, don't necessarily have anything to show on this one, but we now have a new feature on import and export of project templates, so that you can either transfer from a sandbox to a production. Maybe you've worked on a few things when you're onboarding, or maybe you want to exchange project templates with your best friends that you found a good way of presenting that. So import export available in the client utilities interface. We have neat features coming using those this new feature, but I'm going to leave product the luxury of announcing that in the next weeks. But that's a new feature that could be interesting for some of you. Next,
I think we're gonna head over with another poll, just to segue into our next topic. So here it comes. Are you using project or task templates? We want to know because we're going to talk about that. All right. There's no wrong answer, by the way. If you say yes, you're already using it, you're going to learn more and use it even more. If you say no, maybe you learned something useful today. Perfect. So it looks like most people are using it. That's great. That's great. By the way, we just released a new video featuring Dominic here. I'm going to drop the link in the chat, but essentially it's talking about how to harness your business knowledge with project template. So after today, if you're just in a mood to learn even more, go check out that video, and of course we'll share it afterwards. Yeah, most people are using it. That's great. You guys
excellent. Yeah, so this next feature here is really more for health and data management. We have two new fields called template category and template details, so that you can sort basically your template. So it's not a big thing, but it's really just to enforce the best practice of maintaining and grooming your templates so that you can manage your business knowledge using those templates. So those two new fields are there just to help you further, provide information on how and when these templates should be used. So template category and then the template details. That will bring me into the workspace where I have a few new features that I want to talk about.
Let's just start with a quick poll. This one, very, very simple. We just want to know if you're using the workspace or not. So we're talking project workspace, global workspace, it doesn't matter. All right. Glad to see that most people are using it and nobody is saying, I don't know. That's good.
The good sign.
All right, Dominic.
Perfect.
Go ahead. Yeah, most people said yes.
So flipping into the workspace, we do like it a lot here. We feel we use it every day in all our processes, so that there's also lots of things that we're developing into the workspace, and we'll continue on working on that. But the first thing here is the rich text area that we can now edit live. So I'm in the grid view now. I'm just double clicking in a field. So I created this for the sake here of this demo, a custom rich text area, so that you see that double clicking on that field in your grid will pop that open. So you can edit that, review it, and then provides you a lot more real estate on modifying that text. So we used to have it only for descriptions and proposed solution, which are two managed fields. But now you can have it on any rich text area so that you can have better editability on those fields. Obviously, they are still available in the side panel. So click on the pencil, I get that in the side panel. We have a new icon also that kind of does the same thing, popping it open so you have more visibility on that text when you're modifying it. So these two icons, this new icon here is available by any rich text area fields. Next, a few new things here on the right clicks. So starting with the grid here, we have new icons to provide a bit more clarity on the actions and make it a bit more fun too. And we have two options now in the right click, move task. It's been there for a while, I think, but just want to bring that back. So people that are using have big projects, I think will find that useful. So when you click on that move task, you have actually a opening your project structure so you can select the parent task where you should move it. So instead of trying and scroll it with the drag and drop, move task could be useful. And we also have the delete. And before I get, there's other right click I'm gonna complete here before I go to the next one. The other neat feature that we have is the multi-select task. So let's say I wanted to move several tasks at the same time. I can control click several tasks or use the shift click. And then I can drag and drop stuff here. Let me just select those two. I can drag and drop multiple tasks at the same time. So that's also a neat thing here. Let's say I'm planning my sprints. I want to drop a few things in there. I can use that to move several tasks. Same concept as if I, seems like the chat is reopened, right? Is it?
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah. I have a question. I think you can answer it.
Oh yeah, moving. Yeah, in this case, I can answer that one. So log time. If you move the task, the roll-ups will be recalculated based on the parent. So the task itself is not. There's no change on that task, but the roll-up will be affected if you're looking at hours from subtask. The roll-ups will be recalculated. Multiple click, same thing here. We can delete multiple tasks at the same time. So I've selected, and in this case, I've used my keyboard. So I'm going to be asked if I need to delete all of those. So the multiple action is also interesting to delete. So if you import a big project template, you want to remove some sections or several tasks at the same time. Also interesting here to multi-click and delete. The other aspect here on the right click, the right click menu, we also improved on the assignment the assignment grid, where the right click on top also has some neat icons. So it makes it a bit cleaner so that you can use that to move tasks around, add or remove a project assignment right from that assignment grid. Obviously, as any other fields, it is also possible to drag and drop and move them around. So I like to keep that clean. When you're doing your assignments, you might want to have your regular people on the left, so it's easier to assign hours. So right click and also actions directly in the assignment grid. Let me just look at my notes to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Another, it's a detail, but it makes our life a lot more enjoyable. Usage of emojis. So we now have emojis that you can, obviously you could copy paste, but now if you right click when you're editing a task name, you have the emoji menu option here right in there. Your keyboard, you always have those keyboard shortcuts, but emoji is here, and the my interface is in French here, but I can also have the corrector. So the auto correction tool is also enabled here, so that if you have typos, it will also show up into your task names. And then the last one here is the two new fields, hours status and task health, that have been added. So you'll have in top 4 fields. So there's the image representation and the actual selection of the pick list, so that you have your red, amber, green that you can select. Out of the box, it's not automated in any way because every business would have their rules on how that should be updated. But it's a new field that it can easily be integrated into business rules that would change to a orange if you hit 80% of your logged hours versus estimated hours. So you can think of different ways of how you want that to be represented. And when you look into list views, having those color codes do stand out quite a bit. So 2 new fields that you can leverage and use into your automations internally. think I've covered everything in the workspace. There's always a lot of things in the background that are done, issues and bugs that are corrected, stability and all that. They keep on improving that, but the new features, these are the main features. Back to my project, I'm gonna cover a bit the Kanban. There's a few things new in the Kanban view. So let me just change here to, let's say here, status. So the Kanban view, again, stability and improvements and performance, that is, they continuously improve on. New feature, I think it's not from this series of the last 6 releases, but we have that compact view that has been there, I think from late last year. But we also have the empty columns here, so that if you're using a pick list, you don't necessarily want to see the empty columns. Right clicking on this toggle will remove, so you can focus. I see that used a bit when you have a series of sprints, again, where you might have several. Some of them are empty and not done yet. You want to focus on just the live ones. So that's also a neat use case where you can use that empty column toggle. The feature that I do like quite a lot is the fact that we can now also sort or group by lookup fields. So if you have either a standard lookup like the parent task or a custom one, and this in my demo environment, I have a custom lookup field which is called Epic. So it's a type of task that is an epic task. So I use that on my stories so that I can group them by epics. So you see now I'm only seeing the parents here are that lookup. So if you have any custom lookups or standard lookups that you want to use, you can now group by that, leveraging further the Kanban board. Rosalie,
Perfect.
I think you want to do another one?
Yeah, I think we're gonna segue into the resource planner. So we want to know, are you using the resource planner? Yes, no, I don't know. Very similar to the other ones we had so far. All right, this one is a little bit more torn. There's other way to do resource allocation, so it's okay if you're not using it. Perfect. Let me share the results because I think I haven't done that before if you're curious. Yeah, we're about midway through.
Perfect.
All
Thank
right.
you, Rosalie. Interesting. So I'd say most of them are using it, which is good. So a few things here in the resource planner. So first, we have a full screen now. So if you want to have more real estate, you're managing a lot of resources, you're maybe working live with your team on the resource plan. So the button here up top now will provide you with that full screen, providing more visibility. We also have, full screen, the export. So another feature that was requested by customers, they wanted to have a capability of exporting whatever's showing on the screen so that they could include that into reports or emails to leadership teams so that you now have capability exporting into a PNG or a PDF. It's basically taking a snapshot of whatever's showing on the screen so that you can include that in other documents if you need to. Next is the tooltips. So we now have capacity to affect what is showing in the tooltips. So the eye bubble here on each of those assignments, you can change the fields that are showing and decide whatever you want to show here. So we have a new field set on the project assignment and the task assignment records so that you can change whatever's showing here. So expanding, I can also have a different tooltips for the information at the task level. Last thing here on the resource planner, when you have a new capacity to filter by project owner. So if you want to use this as a project manager, you want to look, and I'm going to flip here because I have preset that my active projects. So I've created a filter using that new filter that new filter that we have, which is project owners. So you can filter just by who's owning that project. So if you want to look at my projects only, then you can do that now. So you can have that holistic view of all the projects, assignments that are pertaining to your projects. that new filter is very useful for that. It's another neat tool also, if ever you, probably some of you are using it. We can also use the resource planner just to display for a consultant my assignments. So if they want to, as a consultant, you'd like to see all your assignments in this type of format, it's possible to leverage the resource planner to show only yours, filtering with just your resource. And we can also make the resource planner read-only for some users, so they could use it only for information.
Perfect. Next one we're going to tackle. We often talk about timesheet, but not maybe as often about timesheet approval. So we want to know first, are you using timesheets? Yes, no, I don't know. Do you have an approval process set up? Yes, no, I don't know. And are you using splits or not? Yes, no, I don't know. And we'll talk about all that.
Yeah, when we say splits, is approving with the splits or approving the whole timesheets, yes.
Perfect. So it looks like most people are using timesheet, have an approval process, great. And splits, no splits, we're about half-half. I'm just going to share the results so everybody can see. And Dominic, let's talk a little bit further about that.
Perfect. Thanks for that. I'm just looking at the results here. So yeah, there's a new feature which is on my timesheet, so I'm gonna look into that. But to show that, I had to go through the timesheet approval. Been working with a customer recently that is using timesheet split approval. In this case, basically, instead of approving the whole timesheet, we're approving by each timesheet splits. That was the question in the poll. So that you see now, looking for a certain week, instead of looking at full timesheets for Roxanne, I'm looking at individual time entries. The advantage here is that you can approve several of them and maybe just reject one item in the timesheet. So let's do that here. So let's say I'm rejecting this, say missing comments, and then we can reject everything, approve everything, and then reject that one, meaning that the rest of the time could proceed with invoicing if you're very granular, or if you want to have that capability of reviewing and approving at that level with each time comments right into your approval. So that's a different mode. I think majority of people are using the timesheet approval. It might be more of an edge case here to approve by split, but it's an option that is available here. So once we have that rejected, I'm going to just flip into my timesheet to see what a consultant would see. So this is basically the new features, the way that we're showing that information. So before, it used to be a pop-up. It required kind of a revamp. So we revisited how we're showing this to make it easier and streamline the process. So hovering over that red flagged rejected timesheet split, I will see the approval comments. So now missing comments that I've added. So a user can come in. If it's either needing to change the hours, we can modify that, or we can come in and add comments and then just resubmit the times that were rejected. So that's, and then the new feature here, how we're interacting with the rejected times when using timesheet splits for approval. The other thing on the timesheet, the other new feature is the concept of the custom information text that we can add to timesheet. Again, that's another customer's request where they have legal obligations to provide information and to show a disclaimer. That is a feature that existed, but now we have HTML capabilities so that you can include images or link up to some other additional information using a URL. So that's a new feature here on the additional information on my timesheet. So back on the next step here, talking about the accounting packages. So a few new items that we have on the accounting packages. First is we're working currently on revamping the Sage Intacct component. There's been a new pricing model for Sage Intacct and changes in their API connector, so that we had to revisit the integration that we have out of the box with Sage Intacct. So we will be eventually connecting also with the order entry. So changes on where we can connect with Sage Intacct. So that's in the works. We are working in collaboration with customers that are using this to revamp it. As of now, we've also launched different batch jobs so that we can make it more efficient and when we do API calls to reduce the volume and reduce the impact of their new pricing model. So working on that. Some things is already out, some is coming out in the next weeks. And also the team is working on the QuickBook integration currently, again, in collaboration with customers. We are now going to have the expense report that will be able to move over to your QuickBook instance. So as an expense is marked as approved, it will, through our standard out-of-the-box connector, we'll be able to send it over to your QuickBook instance. Same thing, we have done that last year with the Xero. So we're going through all our accounting connectors to have par against for each, so that they all have similar features. And then on the accounting aspect, going back to the environment, a new feature or field, in this case that we have on the account, is a new field called Invoice Default Language. So that if you are using multi-language PDF capabilities in our package, now you'll have the automatic language definition for each account when you generate a new invoice. So going to an invoice, a newly generated invoice, we have a field which is called language. So by default, it's going to take the account's language if it's set to set it as the same. If you don't have anything set on the account, it's going to keep using your organization's default language when a new invoice is generated. Then when you click on preview PDF, then that PDF is going to be using that language. So we're leveraging the translation workbench from the Salesforce platform. So you could have several languages and have each invoices being generated in their own languages. Sorry, I think, Rosalie, we lost you for a bit. I was kind of confused. I was wondering if it was me that was frozen. So it might have it looked odd a bit when I saw that you were. So I thought it was me. So anyway, sorry for the confusion for everyone, but we're back. So last thing here, I think we're in time. So the last aspect I want to cover is the survey. So survey, we now have capability of, again, having multi-language. So I'm going to switch here to my survey, configure survey UI so that I can look into those new features. So I'm going to use this one here, this what's new webinar survey. So in the survey, each fields now that we have within our survey formats are, you can have capability of editing so that you can have several languages being used. So now I'm looking into the NPS, for which we can now have low and high labels being changed. So it's not fixed to whatever it was before for a standard NPS. So you can leverage further that NPS format, which is basically just a scale where you can use different scale sizes if you want, but you can also change those labels. So if you have multi-language, you'll be able to have one survey per language and adjust those scales. By the way, question from Kennedy. Because I went quick on that one. So how do we navigate to client? Good question, to the client survey. So it's basically here, I just went to the configure survey option. So that's what brings me to this window here.
Yeah, and if I can add, Kennedy, if you go to our help site or our community, we have a lot of articles on how to set up your survey, how to do it, everything. So do check that out if you're interested.
Yeah, that should always be your go-to to go to the client community. But yeah, so client configure survey. So if some of you are not aware of the configure the survey capabilities, we have obviously pretty much all formats of questions. So we have the NPS. We have a CSAT, which is more based on stars. Again, we can control number of stars we're showing. Open questions here with more of an open text. And we have radio buttons also and check boxes for multiple choices. So a combination of that, you'll get whatever you need from your everyone that you're probing using the surveys. And then just to wrap up on the capability of having multi-language, when we go one step further, we now have a possibility to modify all components of that survey form that we'll be sending. So the welcome note, exit note, even the button that needs to be pressed to submit the survey. So each of those, now we have a modify capability so that you can use it for multi-language. And I'm going to show an example, but just before, that's a feature we had from last year. It's not, I'm kind of cheating a bit because it's not something from the latest releases, but it's from late last year, which is when I'm bringing that back, where you can actually embed a question directly in an email so that you can select which question would be, so that it'd be either the NPS or the CSAT question that can be directly embedded right into an email. So you can select that here. So as you want to have different languages, you can just use one that you have, clone it, change the text and translate, and then you'll have multiple languages surveys. So just to show that example here, surveys can be sent either from an account or a project. So send survey is a button that can be added at those two levels. Either way, it's going to be, and I'm going to send it right from here, let's say from my project. So sending survey from the project, you will be able to select your email template. I'm going to select the one that has the embedded question. And then you can select even the survey itself. So this one, sorry, is the email template. And this one is the survey that I want to send. So let's say I wanted to send the what's new that we just looked into. I can add from my contact list from my account. So I'm going to send it to Friendly Barney from our good company, Barney and Friends. And then I will also, just for the sake of the example, send it to me directly, just that I don't have access to Barney's send inbox, so I'm going to use mine just for the example. So using send here would send directly from your project, logging it at the project level, and as answers are coming back, it will also come back to the same place. So the customer is going to receive something similar to this, where all the information are either from our survey itself or the email template. And you see that embedded question here is kind of a good teaser, because now you have action. Instead of start survey, you really just are clicking on whatever you want here, and it's going to be loading that page of the survey itself, where you'll be able to continue and answer the rest of the questions. So now I have my first question answered. I can use the other ones also. And then here I can submit, and that's going to flow back right into your environment, right onto your project. So depending on how you're using it, you can have that logged right into your environment, having maybe high levels reports to show some results, or even dig into that these answers directly onto your project. So that's really keeping the information live and in context. That's it, Rosalie. I think I went through my whole list.
I think that was a lot, thanks. And we've actually recapped everything that we just talked about in a little poll. This is really, our product team is super curious to know. I mean, everybody on our team is curious to know of all the things we've talked about, and we've covered 6 months of like releases, which ones you're interested, excited about. You can check as many as you want. We'll just leave it a couple more seconds. It's just for us to know, the product team to know they're working on all sorts of things. Today, I think we covered kind of the different parts of the platform, and we're curious to know which one are more appealing than others. All right, I'll give you a little bit more time. By the way, all the polls we did today, we'll share it with our product team. And all right, I'll leave a little bit more time. We'll be moving on to the next topic, which is what's coming up. And I think I'm going to end the poll and share the results. All right, if you're curious, I'm going to leave that here for a little bit. I don't know if it's taking too much space, but all right. So what's coming up? So speaking of our product team, they're working on some exciting new features that you can see on the screen there. Our next release should be end of June, so next week, and include a couple of these. So Workspace out of the box preset and sharing, some email notification when there's a new project or task assignment, Dominic mentioned it, some more development on the Sage Intacct site. And then Q3, so we're talking July through September, a bunch of really fun stuff. Again, we're not going in detail because you'll just join the next webinar and learn more. But missing timesheet notification, that came up a lot from customers. The consultant execution dashboard, so a new dashboard out of the box. Placeholder customizable images, so we're in the workspace there. Drag and drop for the checklist. So it's not possible to do that right now. Hopefully it will be. Some improvement in the workspace navigation. So some more of what Dominic covered today. And then task status color mapping. And then just second to last poll that I just want to know again to help out our product team of the things that are mentioned here, which one you're most excited about. You never know if they have to prioritize something, this may come in handy. So of all the things we mentioned, is there anything you're like, yeah, this is the one I'm waiting for. This is where I'm going to be joining next webinar to learn more about that. All right. Yeah. Perfect. I'll leave it a little bit more.
I would guess on the yeah, I don't want to influence.
What would be your guess? Are you seeing the results?
Not yet, no. What I would have guessed on the missing timesheet.
You should have done the missing timesheet. Okay, I'm gonna end the poll now. All right, I'm gonna end the poll and share the results. So I'm glad to see that most everything that the team is working on is interesting to someone on the crowd. So that's good news. I will be sharing that with our team. So thanks a lot for answering. And now we're gonna head out to our next slide. All right, so conclusion. So we've talked about all these great things. Now what's next? How can you upgrade? I hope you all know that, but just a little recap. Like I mentioned, up-to-date version would be 49.6. So if you're not on that version and you want to upgrade, just head over to your community, account information, grab the installation link, and go from there. I'm also going to share the article that explains how to upgrade. So let's just drop it in the chat so you have it. If you need any help upgrading, you can always use our support at client.com. Professional service team is also available if you need more help. And then if we go to our next screen,
so basically just on your avatar account information, you will have the information to the latest. Some of you that might still be on the earlier version 39 and less. You might not see this link. Just reach out to support to get the link, just that it comes with specific instructions if you are from V43 and less, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Back to you.
And then the other thing, everything we've mentioned today, our product team is super on top of everything. So they write release notes for every single feature. And for each feature, there's usually like additional articles that we already have. So if there's, like we were mentioning earlier, we talked about survey, there's some more links there. So because we have something new. So just head over to release. When you log into your community, you should have access to all that.
We also, sorry to interrupt, we also list all, probably all of you know that, but we list all cases that were resolved also. So if you had specific cases that were yours, you should have been informed by the support, because usually we send a follow-up email when the case is resolved, but we do list all bugs and issues that were resolved with the case number.
Yeah, and that's a good point as well. Like today, we really focus on like new features and functionalities, but anything that has to do with bug fixes and everything, it's mentioned there, but we don't really talk about it on the webinar. So
yeah, and there we have a section, and the product team has a improve it type of product. So sometimes it's not a mind-blowing new features, but there are neat things that are being improved. We all list those also in the release notes.
Yeah. And then the last one, if you like Dominic, but you're left wanting more after today's webinar, don't worry. We've got this new video series called How I Solve It with Client that's available on our website. He's featured in a couple of them. A couple of our team member, Melody, among other people, is featured in there. It tackles all sorts of small issues that you, small business challenges that you might have, and how to solve it in Client. These are very short videos. I'm going to drop the link on how to access it on our website. We're going to be doing more and more of these. I think today we already share a link or two on there. So you can just click on that link, head over. You're going to see all the ones we have so far. We're going to be releasing new ones every week. And then the last thing I would like to do before we head out would be just to end with our end of webinar feedback survey. So if you can take a few seconds, just answer that, give us some feedback. We're planning on bringing back those monthly webinars. So hopefully we'll have one next week and the weeks after. We'll send you more details about that. But
I'd
if you
say
can
next month, not next week. We'll
no, not next week. Sorry. Yeah, next month. Yeah, no, next week. Every month. And then at the end of the webinar, we'll send you a recap email that's going to include all the links and resources we shared today, the presentation deck, the recording, many more things. If you have questions, follow-up questions about what was addressed today, just send us an email at support@client.com. Thank you so much for joining. We're going to leave the feedback up. We're going to close off our camera and the recording, but thank you so much for joining, and hopefully we see you next time.
Thanks, Rosalie, for doing this with the your smile. It's makes it it's very interesting and fun. So thanks for doing this.
All right, thanks.